that week, let's have you come in, and only to find out, and I can't believe you've been associated with the Meadows going back 37 years.
Yeah, started in 1987, worked there full-time for about 10 years. I worked as a TV co-host. I worked as the PR director for a while, and I was always Roger Houston's backup. And even after I left the Meadows full-time and went to an athletic administration job and coaching job, I was still Roger's backup for all the years. And then when Roger retired in 2019, I flipped back, and now I'm part-time coaching and full-time at the Meadows.
And you have a son that's being groomed for announcer, right?
Oh, he's hoping I retire any day now.
He's like,
believe
Dad,
me.
37 years. So you're from Apollo.
Correct.
In the Apollo Vandergrift area. And then how did you end up in the Meadows at such a young age?
Well, my grandfather and my parents would take me down to the track when I was a kid. I always loved it. My grandfather was back in his day racing. You had to actually be at the track. You couldn't watch it on your phone and wager. So he used to drive up and down the East Coast and go to various tracks. And I picked up my love of racing from him. And unfortunately, he passed away long before he ever got to see me work in the field. But I think he would be happy that this is what I'm doing. And that love for the sport just kind of carried through. And when I was 18, I reached out to Roger Houston and I said, hey, I'm looking for an internship. And I ended up with a life.
I met Roger Houston through an association with Myron Cope, who was a big fan of a fictitious name, one of his sports callers named Zivko Kovalchik, but his real name was...
I believe it was Jerry Finn.
Jerry Finn.
Yes.
Anyway, he found out I had an interest in, announcing. So he said, well, I know Roger Houston. I went down back in the day when they first went on cable, which was a big, technological leap because you could actually watch Meadows racing. And at that time, there wasn't any other gambling allowed except racing.
Only game in town, yeah.
Until, how many years now are we in with full gaming with the casinos?
No, it's been well over 15 at this point.
Yeah, and so anyway, I got to meet Roger, and Roger was there forever. He's still around filling in for you now sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny. I backed Roger up for all those years, for more than 30 years, and he said to me, he said, if you need a day off, you covered for me enough. He says, I'll come in and cover for you. So, yeah, Roger still, if I'm not there, he's the first call. He'll take over and come in. And, in fact, this Saturday, Adios Day, you come on out, you'll probably hear him call a race or two this weekend.
That's cool. And tell us about the Adios. This is the biggest weekend of harness racing in the Bird.
It's our Kentucky Derby is really what it is. That's the best way to describe it. I could give you all the names of the horses and all that, but for the average sports fan, it's about the event. It's just something, if you haven't been there, if you haven't been to a Kentucky Derby type atmosphere, this is our version, and it's an event. You come out, you enjoy it. It's some of the best horses in the country. There could be a big upset. We had what we call elimination races because we had 15 horses enter for this past Saturday. We had to whittle that down to 9. So only the best ones from last weekend's races are coming back this week, and they're going for $350,000. So it's a pretty significant deal. And there was a big long shot that won one of those, and who knows what's going to happen this week.
I was there the last day. It was an adios of the old grandstand before they imploded it with plans to build the new casino, which is such an added amenity because back in the day it was just harness racing.
And I've said I've spent most of my life in racetracks, casinos, and bowling alleys, and I have no complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, you're also the bowling coach at St. Vincent College, and you're nationally ranked.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like I said, to get to do the jobs that I do, I grew up mostly in a bowling alley. The racetrack was kind of when I got a little bit older. And I had the opportunity to start coaching at St. Vincent now 8 years ago, taking the program from a non-scholarship, brand new startup program to where we're actually nationally ranked now. And I'm really proud of what the team has accomplished.
Gee, there's something else going on at St. Vincent College here in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
it gets such a big deal up there.
It gets very hectic up there.
The Steelers are going to camp.
Yes, so that is a busy time of year. And let's face it, I went to St. Vincent as a student, as did somebody else that we both know that works here. But the first time that most people have heard of St. Vincent College is because of Steeler Camp.
Sure.
That's how I heard of it, and that's one of the reasons I ended up going there.
And Jeff's referring to our own Susie Cole, who you gave your first chance for some interview opportunities. And look at her now. She's like a big star. I see her on the newsroom.
She came to me when she was a student and said, I want to get into broadcasting. Is there anything you can do to help? Because she knew I had been working in the field of broadcasting all these years. And so I gave her an opportunity, put her in front of a camera, and she kind of took it and ran from there. But I always laugh at the biggest question I get when people find out that I know Susie Cool. Okay, what's her real name?
We had the same question.
That is it. So
it's really her name, by the way, and she's from West Allegheny. We're with Jeff Zidek, voice of the Meadows. Going to talk more coming out about what this Adios race. I want you to give us some working tips. If you haven't been to a race, I highly recommend you go in person. It's actually Pittsburgh, or it's Adios. Is it Adios or not? I'm with Jeff Zidek, who's the voice of the Meadows. It's one of those.
It's one of those. I guarantee you that.
Adios. That's how we would say in Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
It is a big deal. What time does this start on Saturday?
First race is 11:45 in the morning. We've got 16 races that day, and the Adios will be race 15 on the card, so it'll be late afternoon. But again, come out and enjoy the whole day.
How prestigious is this in the sport of harness racing?
It's one of the big races every summer. It's for 3-year-old horses, 3-year-old colts, just like the Kentucky Derby is for thoroughbreds. And it's one of the more prestigious races. It's got a long history to it. This is the 58th, the Lambert, if you will.
Oh, number 58.
Yes. So this is the 58th Adios. It's been around a long time, and we've got a big following for it.
You know who, and you know better than anybody, it's a rhetorical question, but you mentioned Delvin Miller that started the Meadows, and then at one point, Joe Hardy was an owner at the Meadows. The late Joe Hardy, who passed away on his 100th birthday, owned 84 Lumber, and of course Nemacolin.
He was the owner of the Meadows when I started working there. He and Ed Ryan,
who was the Ryan Holmes.
Yes,
and that's how their partnership, because Ryan Holmes needed lumber, obviously, and so they had a great partnership. But it went through the Meadows at one point.
They were both big-time horse owners. And also, Ed Ryan was a driver. He drove in races at the Meadows for a lot of years.
I did not know that. All right. So you take over after Roger Houston, and this is just before COVID. And then what happened next?
Well, as I said, Roger's final Adios, he had several thousand people there cheering and listening to the race. And I look out the window from my first Adios, and there's nobody there because we were only open for people for watching online and wagering. But I got to my first Adios, and I'm not nervous when I do this job because I've been doing it for 37 years. But that was the first time I'd called our biggest race. And so there was a local driver in the race who had a good chance to win. And they're coming down the stretch, and he's on the inside of the track. And I gave him the big call, and I said the driver's name was Mike Wilder, and he was driving a horse named Catch the Fire. And I gave it the big call. It's Catch the Fire, Mike Wilder. They win the Adios. And in reality, he won the race, but it was only by a matter of inches. And I had people tell me, great call. Boy, there was a horse coming on the outside that almost got there, and you stayed with that horse on the inside, and you called the right horse. Because normally, when you have such a tight finish, I'm going to say something like, it's those two side by side to the wire or something like that. But I gave the definitive call, and everybody said, boy, that was gutsy of you to do it. But now I'm going to come clean on this one. 5 years later or 4 years later, I'll come clean. I never saw the horse on the outside. So my first Adios that I ever called almost ended in complete disaster because I never saw that. I was so focused on the local driver getting there to win that I never saw the horse coming on the outside. But it worked out.
So, Jeff, you've been associated, though, you said, for 37 years with the Meadows, and looking forward to this big weekend. But before you go, I want to ask you about coaching bowling at St. Vincent. You say you're nationally ranked.
Yes, we are 25th in the country.
And who are some of the other? Are any of the other schools in the area?
College bowling with the NCAA is different in the Division 1, 2, and 3. So you've got full scholarship, and we're non-scholarship Division 3, but they're all lumped together. So we are in this ranking with full scholarship programs, Division 1 programs. Duquesne is a top 10 team. So Duquesne, they're excellent. But
they have a bowling alley?
They use one in Mount Lebanon, and we use one in Latrobe. So yeah, it's very challenging for a non-scholarship team to be ranked ahead of full scholarship programs, which is why, like I said, I'm quite proud of what the team has accomplished over these years.
So, I mean, do you recruit like football? Do you go out to bowling alleys and hang out?
I recruit nationally. I do.
Do you really?
Yeah, I've got bowlers from Florida, Delaware, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
How do you talk them into coming here from Florida to bowl?
It's my sparkling personality, apparently. So, because I don't have scholarship money to give other than academics. So.
You tell them you're going to take them to Steelers training camp.
You know, that has helped us. It really has. It really has. They want to. I've had students that want to work with the Steelers, and I say I will do whatever I can to help you down that path.
To broker that relationship.
Exactly.
And you spent time in sports and as an athletic.
I worked as the sports information director at St. Vincent for 20 years. While I was full time at the Meadows, then went to part time there. Went to full time at St. Vincent. Now I'm back to part time at St. Vincent and full time at the Meadows.
It's pretty impressive. And you know what I thought would be fun is to get like Ryan Mill from the Penguins, Guy Junker now, who's doing Pirates games as their public address announcer. We'll get as many that we can and just exchange stories of, you know, having these unique experiences. And you do this, how long is your day when you're working?
Well, if my boss is listening, it's really long.
Really hard.
Really
12
grueling.
hours.
Yes.
Preparation.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm on the air from 12 to about 5:30 every day that we race.
That's something you've always had a passion for and you get to do. You know, Jeff, not many people get to do what they really want to do.
I have no complaints in life.
So not only are you the voice of the Meadows, you have a passion for bowling. I'm curious, though, in the moment, coaching. What are you coaching? Like those shoes, the glove. I mean, actually coaching.
It's all about where they need to stand, where they need to put the ball, which ball they need to use, because they're all different. They have different weight blocks and cover, and it's a more scientific sport than most people would ever believe.
Yeah, we used to go all night bowling in McKnight Lanes.
That was not scientific.
No, it was not. It was very unscientific. Jeff Zidek, the voice of the Meadows. Well, good luck Saturday with the Adios, and we'll have you back again. We'll grab some of the other guys, and we'll share some stories.
And Larry, you're welcome. Anytime you want to come down and call a race, the booth is open.
I'd be nervous. I never called a horse race before.
Got to start somewhere.
All right. Appreciate you coming in, man. Check him out at the Meadows this Saturday. It's the Adios at the Meadows.